You're watching a very special show on Bloomberg UTV. We are debating the Millennium Goals. In the last segment, gentlemen, let's focus on out-of-the-box ideas. We've gone through a terrible economic crisis around the world. Developing countries also have been affected. Perhaps India not as badly as the West, but definitely impacted. All this puts a strain on what the government can actually spend to achieve the goals for the largest number of people, the poorest of the poor. In a world like this, out-of-the-box solutions that can actually help attaining these goals, beginning with Salil.
Well, I think let me first start with let's stay in the box for a second, because there is a problem with the box.
Yeah.
You mentioned that we don't have resources. It's true. On the one hand, nobody has enough resources, but the level of expenditure we have right now, for example, if you take on health, public expenditure is one of the lowest in the world. So you pay peanuts, you get monkeys kind of thing. That's the reality. So I would totally go with Gurcharan there to say that can the users, if it's Procter and Gamble, we would be asking customers what they think about the products which are being delivered. We never ask poor people what they think of health or education or water services. So why don't we actually let them track delivery and performance at the ground level? Now, using SMS and we have the right to information now, which is a very powerful tool. Why can't there be a much more direct feedback system which we can aggregate and tell government as to what are poor people saying? And because one of the amazing things about India, while it's a very complex, very diverse situation, the problems are very concentrated. We know we have about 200 districts and about 5 or 6 states which are like failed states. These are like comparable to sub-Saharan Africa in terms of indices and performance levels. And you have social groups who are specifically affected. We know it's the Dalits, the Adivasis, the women. Look at this panel. It's an all-male panel. This is the reality of this country. So if we have focused effort on particular social groups and particular geographies with a bottom-up tracking mechanism, I think we can find some solutions.
Mr. Das.
Well, I think the kind of out-of-the-box solutions are precisely what we've hinted at earlier. For example, make it easier for the poor to make their livelihood. They've been thrown into the informal economy because the formal economy is so hostile. The number of licenses you need, the number of, give titles, for example. If you put all the titles of people, even the poor have a small plot of land. They have a small hut. Well, they can use that as collateral if they have a title. So if we could just put that on the internet and they could collateralize it, they could raise money from banks and do something with it. Labor laws. If labor laws today hurt maximum the 90% who are not organized, the people. So these are solutions where people's energy will be released by itself.
Right.
And they will lift themselves out of poverty. We don't need to have a state which says all the time, we know the answers and here is what we will do for you.
Okay, Gopal Subramaniam, so much of Mr. Das, what he said was about law. Change the regulations, change the laws. How do we change the laws?
Well, I think the first is that laws have to be socially realistic and they must address social reality in a scientific way. The second is we have to know that there is a huge intervening apparatus between the service provider and the recipient of the service. The apparatus is so heavy, it is so convoluted that no service really reaches the recipient. Now, how is it possible that we empower the recipients? One, of course, is by right to information. But I think more important, government must now say that we want to engage with the recipients and give them the important place and space they require in the social milieu. It is important that one hungry person in Bundelkhand, his name, his voice, his condition must be heard by all other people. Now, unless the state encourages this participation and unless we have this kind of synergy where, as Salil said, people's power must be manifest by becoming conscious, but it's not that they don't want to be conscious, they don't have a chance to be conscious. So how to make them conscious? You have to lift all, shall I say, canons of hierarchy, all canons of expenditure, all canons of power. Above all, the best thing which government can do is, if power itself can be inverted, if power can become trust and responsibility, if power is equal to accountability, I think that will be the big change. It will be an out-of-the-box change. So when a person has a position of power, he thinks 3 times, should I actually take this position? I think the responsibility is a lot much more. I have to live up to it. I have to conform to it. I think we need this paradigm shift. It is possible. It's possible by motivation. It is possible through charisma. It happened with Gandhiji. It happened with others. We ultimately will have to look for that charisma may not be simply in the external leader. That was possible once, and it happens once and again in a millennium.
Sure.
But as Desmond Tutu said, everyone has that charisma inside you. Everyone has that leader inside you. And I think that's what has got to be energized.
All right, we have to end there. Let's hope that we all find the leaders within us and the Millennium Development Goals are met. Thanks very much, gentlemen, for joining us. Thanks very much for joining me in the studio today for this important debate. Thanks for being with Bloomberg UTV. Goodbye.